On April 16, 2020, 5 B-52H Stratofortresses taxied down the runway at Andersen Air Force Base, lifted into the tropical air, and headed east toward North Dakota. They flew under the call sign SEEYA. That departure ended a 16-year streak. Since 2004, the military had maintained a continuous bomber presence on Guam, ensuring that at least one task force of heavy bombers was on the island at all times. But as those 5 bombers disappeared over the horizon, no replacements arrived to take their place. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the flight line was suddenly empty. The timing seemed reckless. In the spring of 2020, tensions in the South China Sea were reaching a boiling point, and North Korea was in the middle of a new round of weapons testing. Politicians and analysts quickly raised alarms, questioning if the U.S. was retreating or voluntarily surrendering its military advantage in the Western Pacific. Why would the U.S. military abruptly pull its heaviest hitters from its most strategically vital stronghold at the worst possible time? To understand the risk, you have to look at the map. Guam is an isolated speck of land in a vast oceanic wilderness, sitting thousands of miles from the nearest American state. Closer to Asia lies the first island chain, including major hubs like Kadena Air Base in Japan. But because these bases are only 400 miles from the coast, they are highly vulnerable to mainland China's massive arsenal of short-range ballistic missiles. Guam is part of the second island chain, located nearly 2,000 miles from the Chinese coast. That distance acts as a buffer, keeping the base safely outside the reach of most short-range threats. While it is hard for an adversary to reach, Guam remains well within the striking distance of long-range U.S. bombers. There is also a political advantage. Unlike bases in Japan or South Korea, Guam is sovereign U.S. territory. The military doesn't need a host nation's permission to launch a strike from its runways. This combination of geographic safety and absolute political control makes Andersen Air Force Base an unvetoable launchpad for American power. This geography was first militarized in 1944, when the island was transformed into a massive hub for B-29 operations against Japan. During the Vietnam War, the base reached its operational peak. During Operation Linebacker II in 1972, more than 150 B-52s were crammed onto the airfield simultaneously, launching sorties around the clock. Today, the infrastructure is even more imposing. Andersen features 2 massive runways and 7.5 million square feet of ramp space. To keep a heavy fleet in the air, the base holds the largest fuel storage capacity in the entire U.S. Air Force. It also maintains the Air Force's largest stockpile of munitions, pre-positioned for rapid use in a conflict. These logistics make Andersen the only base in the Western Pacific capable of permanently servicing the American heavy bomber triad, the B-1, B-2, and B-52. This colossal infrastructure was built to support a massive, permanent, and highly visible deterrence force. But back in 2020, that permanent presence was becoming a liability. The bombers didn't leave because Guam lost its value. They left because being predictable had become dangerous. After 16 years of continuous rotations, adversaries knew exactly when and where those bombers would be. In a modern conflict, that kind of predictability makes them extremely easy targets for a preemptive missile strike. To solve this, the military adopted a new strategy called dynamic force employment. Instead of sitting on the ground as targets, bombers now launch from the continental U.S. or other global bases. They fly across the ocean, arrive unannounced in the Pacific, and return home after the mission is complete. This is why the base conducted a massive elephant walk just days before those 5 B-52s left. It wasn't a retreat, it was a showcase of mobility, proving the aircraft could move out and clear the base at a moment's notice. This strategy forces adversaries to constantly guess where American firepower will strike from next. Andersen Air Force Base is expanding, adding Marine Corps Camp Blas, keeping its massive munitions stockpile ready for these unpredictable bomber task forces. It hasn't stepped back, evolving from a static parking lot into a highly dynamic springboard, built for the unpredictable future of warfare in the Pacific.